This video is in response to Profmth's videos on the alleged discrepancies of Christ's birth between the two biblical accounts and the current mainstream interpretation of history based on extra-biblical sources. My intention is twofold. First, to address the general tone put off by Profmth's many videos criticizing the Bible. The impression is clear that Profmth believes Christians don't have adequate evidence to stand in their belief that the Bible is the inerrant Word of God, and that their irrational belief is strictly faith-based, cause them to use emotional coping mechanisms to justify what cannot be true. I would like to demonstrate how Profmth's position, that it is impossible for the Bible to be the inerrant Word of God, is equally faith-based, and lacking the indisputable evidence needed to believe this without a shadow of a doubt. Second, my intention for posting this video is rooted in a sincere interest in this topic of the alleged discrepancies of the biblical accounts of Christ's birth. I don't exactly know how to reconcile what appears to be conflicting evidence between the biblical accounts and these other outside sources. My hope is that this video will inspire the digging up of evidence that will help shed a light on this discrepancy. So I'm inviting Profmth to respond with more detail on his evidence that he is using to make his assertions in this matter, and asking everyone else to please comment with any evidence they have to substantiate either side of the debate. So let me just clarify what it is that I'm looking to explore. For those of you who haven't seen Profmth's videos on this topic, I'll give a quick overview, but I'll also link this video below. Basically, Matthew 2:1 puts Jesus' birth during the reign of King Herod the Great, while Luke 2:2 puts it during the census taken by Quirinius as governor of Syria. According to Josephus, a Jewish historian, Quirinius was governor of Syria 10 years after the death of Herod the Great, making it impossible for the two to have happened at the same time if indeed Josephus' account is accurate. My question is, how can we measure the weight and accuracy of Josephus' writings compared to that of Luke's? You see, the claim here is not that there's a contradiction within the Bible itself, but that there's a discrepancy between the Bible and outside claims to history. We do know of history that our understanding of it is not finite. We use bits and pieces of information collected from various archaeological findings and etc. to compile a more extensive understanding of history, based on how we can most plausibly piece that information together. So we make a timeline based on those pieces of information that we've gathered, and when a new discovery is found, we edit that timeline. You can see examples of this just in history of Bible criticism alone. For instance, it was once believed that writing, as in physically transcribing things, was not around during the time of Moses. And so it was believed that the Pentateuch, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, believed to have been written by Moses, could not have actually been written by Moses if writing wasn't around during his time. So what they do is they take their theorized placement of the writing of that document, and they change it in their timeline, assuming different authorship as well. Yet in 1901, they discover wedge-shaped characters inscribed on something that historians call the Black Stele, which has now been dated to be 3 centuries prior to the time of Moses. So the belief of historians prior to 1901 that Moses could not have written the Pentateuch, since there wasn't writing in that time, was obviously based on false information or incomplete information. The Bible has also been mocked for its references to the Hittite people, whom historians for a long time believed didn't exist. Yet we now know they did indeed exist. We have evidence of more than 1,200 years of Hittite civilization, including an entire library in Turkey dedicated to the findings of these people, including 10,000 clay tablets with their writings on it. So it makes sense to look at our current understanding of history today with at least a touch of skepticism, questioning each believed fact for what level of evidence we have to prove that fact. For someone to say the Bible is an error in the accounts of Christ's birth, based on a comparison to Josephus' accounts, you have to have proof that Josephus is not in error. And since I don't know anyone who would claim these historical documents to be infallible, and we have no way to prove that he'd be infallible, we have to rest on faith, that his accounts are at least more believable than Luke's. I would like to see the pieces of evidence that give Profmth that faith. I don't mean to put this all in Josephus, I mean to include any evidence that can be given to substantiate Profmth's timeline of King Herod the Great's rule and of Quirinius' governorship. In order to believe the Bible is in error here, and claim that it is a sound deduction based on fact and logic alone, you have to have overwhelming evidence that you have a provable timeline of Herod and Quirinius, and that no holes and there's no room for future discoveries that could prove a need to edit that timeline. Profmth is claiming that he has evidence that proves the Bible to be false, but I would like to explore the scope and validity of that evidence.